For more than 100 years, the native people of the Northeast have deftly played Britain and France against each other. But now the swelling imperial ambitions of the Europeans threaten to overwhelm them. Across the Atlantic, in the Palace of Versailles, Louis XV and his ministers spend the winter of 1755 preparing to defend their North American interests. By the time the ice has melted on the St. Lawrence River, 1,800 French troops have been deployed to Canada. King George II and his ministers in Whitehall move even faster. 1,000 redcoats sail to Virginia in early spring of 1755. The British plan is to strike the French in the Ohio country and simultaneously in northern New York and Nova Scotia. A three-pronged attack that will drive the French back into Canada. War is now inevitable.
First, the troops I have the honor to command will take Fort Duquesne and thereby remove the French from the forks of the Ohio. Second,
it's an audacious strategy, in keeping with the commander-in-chief sent by London to carry it out. General Edward Braddock, a politically connected career officer with little battlefield experience.
Once we have secured this important post, we shall proceed to Niagara, if the season will permit. And I suppose it will, for this Duquesne can hardly detain me above 3 or 4 days.
Fort Duquesne, Braddock's first objective, is held by the French and their Indian allies. It stands guard at the crucial forks, controlling all traffic through the Ohio country. To assault it is an ambitious plan.
As I was saying, gentlemen.
But before he even begins, the general runs into political problems. Braddock expects the colonies to help pay for this military campaign. But the governors of the colonies reply that their assemblies would prefer to be asked, not ordered.
Pish, gentlemen! You cannot tell me you have not the power to make these little assemblies do the king's will. The matter is urgent. There is no time to be lost. I need not remind each of you that this expedition is an expensive enterprise. I cannot sufficiently express my indignation against the provinces of Pennsylvania and Maryland who refuse to contribute anything. As for the Indians, these savages may indeed be a formidable enemy to raw American militia, but it is impossible they should make any impression against disciplined troops.
Braddock's march against Fort Duquesne gets off to a slow start that spring of 1755. The army waits at Fort Cumberland, Maryland. As in every army of the time, female camp followers are a semi-official part of the force. Close to 200 women serve as laundresses, cooks, and nurses.
This washing is endless. Betsy, when your husband's regiment went into battle, was you ever frightened? For yourself, I mean. What if the enemy was to come up from the rear?
The truth say I never was with the troops in an actual battle. But I shouldn't worry about anything like that here. The sergeant says that we outnumber the Froggies. And as for them Indians, but everyone knows they can't fight in any manner that will prevail over our trained soldiers. The sergeant says General Braddock don't even want them savages fighting on our side. That's how little he thinks of them.
Don't talk to me about General Braddock. You did hear, didn't you, Betsy? He's ordered all us women going up country with the army to be examined for disease by the surgeons. To see if we're clean enough to march? Well, it's an insult for certain. I'm a married woman, not a whore.
The men they should be looking at.
I have to say, this time I hope you'll be suitably impressed.
General Braddock names George Washington one of his chief aides. Though it's not an official British commission, Washington jumps at the opportunity to serve alongside the highest-ranking British officer on the continent.
The men are looking very good indeed. Yes, sir.
The general orders daily parade ground exercises to keep discipline sharp.
Charge your bayonets! Rest your bayonets!
But about one-third of Braddock's army are American provincials, untrained enlistees from Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. Braddock pronounces them very indifferent men. It isn't only the drilling that's unfamiliar to the Americans. Severe punishments for even small infractions provide a closer look into the army under King George than many Americans have seen before. At night, the Indians living near the fort put on demonstrations for the British and Americans. Dances that suggest the fighting style of the warriors. The soldiers now know what the famous Indian war whoop actually sounds like. The Americans encourage Braddock to court Indian allies, but the general's scorn shows. All but 7 warriors go home. In June of 1755, Braddock's march to the Ohio country finally gets underway. A long, thin column of wagons, artillery, horses, and camp followers, 4 miles long. "300 axemen clear the way." It's a logistical feat that only the British would attempt. Marching an army through 100 miles of dense forest, steep mountains, and muddy river crossings. After a week, they have gone only 22 miles. Frustrated by the slow progress, Braddock splits his force and takes an advance column of 1,400 men ahead. It is Washington's 3rd adventure into the Ohio Valley. This time, he hopes to finally drive the French out. The main body of the army escapes any direct attacks. Others aren't always so lucky. English messenger James Smith is captured far from the column and taken to the French fort Duquesne.
Move as fast as you can.
Running the gauntlet is customary for all Indian captives. Smith is turned over to the French. He'll wait to see whether the English will ever arrive at the fort.